right, welcome back to the NMRA X Gateway X Virtual Convention, day one. We are now well into the afternoon, having a lot of fun and seen some good clinics so far today. Right now, Carl Blum is going to give us a talk on various wiring terminals for obviously wiring up your model railroad. Says Carl's operates the Misery and Short Life Railroad, which is rewired 3 times. And I'm going to have to ask him, did he name the railroad before or after he rewired it 3 times? And then he's also going to show us how to make some PVC terminal strips and show us some other things. So, Carl, if you're ready to go, you can start your PowerPoint presentation.
Sure. Well, the Misery and Short Life is actually the nickname for the Minneapolis and St. Louis Railroad, and I just thought it was cute, so that's why I picked it. I grew up in Burlington, Iowa, which was sort of the center of that territory, and not quite as daunting as trying to model the Burlington CB&Q. So anyway, yeah, I did have to rewire it 3 times as I moved from Train Master Lionel Control to DCC, and then finally, figured out that DCC really wanted separate blocks for every booster. So, I had to go under the layout several times. Pretty much cut the wires free and reconnect them all. It's an O-gauge railroad with Gargraves track, and I didn't want any continuity problems, so every section of Gargraves track has 2 wire drops from it, which are all connected up underneath. So I did a lot of connecting. Let's go to the next slide here and go on into history. One of the most traditional way of wiring is bus wires with solder, and then you might tape them. Some people don't. Another thing that's real popular are wire nuts. They're kind of nice. You can take them apart, but they really chew up stranded wire. I actually heard recently they're not really supposed to be used for stranded wire, but everybody does. And the fourth picture there is suitcase connectors. That's under my layout. And used a bunch of those. They're real convenient, but they're really hard to change, and they're a little bit pricey. And here's some of the other terminal strips, the screw terminals and the solder terminals back from the old radio days. A lot of people use those. The R66B terminal strip, that's the one that's connecting all my bus wires for the throttles. They're kind of nice. They're punched down from the telephone company. If you know somebody tearing down a building, especially an office building, you get a lot of those. The white strip, that's the ISO Euro strips. They're real popular. And then the last picture with all the wires, those are DIN strips, and they're really highly versatile, but they're real pricey. I only have those because I was able to get industrial machine control cabinets and strip them. So I was helping my friend Les wire his layout, and I said, let's try something different. And I'd done some work with the PVC trim boards, they're about the same weight as 1x. And I found out a 1x2 strip of this stuff makes a pretty nice terminal strip. You got a picture there. You see that it's 2 plug terminals, and they're cross-connected. There's the trim like you see it from Lowe's and Home Depot. It's like $6 or $8 for a strip of the stuff. Cost is almost null. It's one side's got a wood grain to it, the other side's smooth. I prefer to put the smooth side out because it makes it easy to write on with a Sharpie pen. Now here's how the terminal works. You put a groove in 1/4 inch deep. You stuff your 2 wires in, and you chase it with the sheet metal screw. I like the hex drive ones. They're really easy to run. And it just chews into the insulation and makes a connection. I've only had 1 or 2 failures of a good connection. If you've made the wrong connection, you just take the screw out, you pull the wires out, and relocate. I wondered how much current could it carry. Well, here I'm running it on a double amp meter and it's drawing over 10 amps through a dozen connections, and there is barely any voltage drop. There was no temperature rise, and that was 110. I do not use these for 110. This was just strictly to have a nice heavy load on them to see what happens. So that, the 12 to 20 volts that we run on train layouts, it's fine. So, if I cut the blocks to size, table saw, chop saw can do this. That's sitting there on the radial arm saw. Now the first ones I made, I cut the grooves too deep. The wires are able to wiggle away. Those are the failures. Now on the left picture, you can see a little screw sticking out of the fence. That was to get the spacing even. A quick way to do that. And there's a shot of doing it on a radial arm. You can kind of do it on a chop saw. Probably wouldn't be quite as clean. Now, let's see. I wonder if I can actually play this. No. Anyway, that's a shot of cutting it on the radial arm. That's a 1x4. I found an 1.5 inch wide was a real convenient size. You can get 3 screws in there. I made some that were narrower, and you can only get 1 screw in, so it just limited the flexibility. I like to put mounting holes in it, flathead screws. Sheetrock screws work great, and not having the head stick up is nice. There's a shot of doing it on the drill press. So now here's some terminal strips in use. From Les's main control panel, he had a 40 conductor wire coming up and split it into 3 bus lines of, looks like 12 or 13 conductors each. And you just thread the wires into the notches, then chase it with a sheet metal screw. And then it's the other end of the bus line. And you can see the wires going off up to the layout. Now on the right side, the first common return, I just put a long groove. I really didn't like that. It having the wires come out in the same direction was kind of messy. So I kind of prefer doing the serpentine. So here you can see those from the left, there's a red and blue wire come in there, common to all the outputs. That serpentine's up and down. And then you see the 5 black wires at the top. Those are like signal wires for turnouts or something coming down. And then at the bottom, you see the 5 groups of wires leaving. There's a close up, and you can take a Sharpie and run across the groove so you know which groove's a red wire and which one's a blue wire. Now, most of these wires are about 18 gauge, just a tight, snug fit in the saw groove. So we had some light. These are telephone. It's like 22, 24 gauge. Just alone, they wouldn't catch. So what I did is I folded them over twice and twisted them and got them up to the size of a 16 gauge wire. Worked fine. So now here's the mobile control cart. You can see the 40 wires coming in of all those terminal strips, and then the 2 big ZWs on the other side. Now here's something I already finished my layout, but somebody were building it, they could actually use the 1x4 PVC as their frame, cut a long groove in it. You'd have a bus bar as part of the frame. Any place you need a power drop to the track, you just drop the wires down and put a screw in. And that's one of those rollers for putting in window screens. That worked great for pushing the wire in. And there's Les. That's pretty much my presentation. I've got some more pieces to show if you want to switch me over to camera. Let's see. I think I can do that.
If you just stop sharing there, Carl,
Yeah.
we should be good. You should go to
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
There we go. Stop this sharing. So now, if you have
okay.
access to the
Your
industrial, am I on
Gordy's full screen. That's not what we wanted. Exit full screen. We don't want to throw Gordy out. Bear with me.
Okay. So here's
there
some
you
of the.
go. You're full screen now. Go ahead.
Okay. Now here are some of this industrial connectors. That's like 3 high, and then this one. Get up here. Yeah, that's got a jumper, so like you can make a bunch of terminals the same. Now these are really nice. I was helping my friend Jim rewire his layout, and he had lots of signals that were wired with magnet wire, enameled wire, and under the layout that would really be a pain to strip the enamel off. These, I mean, of course you probably can't see it. There's like alligator teeth inside, and you crimp this down on the enamel wire, it cuts through the enamel. So it made connections really easy. And these are other telephone connections that you can get. We'll punch the orange thing down. It's 2-conductor. And then this is analogous to the suitcase connectors, the bypass. And of course, the suitcase. You can actually reuse those. You strip the wires out and pull that little thing out, metal part out. And let's see, last thing. What I want to do is here's a made up block. Yeah, stuff 1 wire in there. Okay, I got the 2 wires in there. Here's a little buzz box. Hook the buzz box up. And almost as soon as I start driving that screw in, it's going to buzz, but. Okay, so here we go. So you can see it. Don't even have the wire all the way in, and it's made connection. So the nice thing is you run one wire all the way across, and you can make 3 or 4 connections in the length of this little 3-inch block. So, is there time for questions? You're muted, Bruce.
I mute myself in 2 places. It's my thing. First question. Somebody's asking, what size wires do you use for the various connections?
The blue wires here, I think those are 18 gauge, but as long as you get a tight fit in the groove, it'll work. So it's like the really light wires, I was doubling them up.
Okay. Along that line, somebody's asking, how deep do you make the grooves when you're cutting?
A 1/4 inch.
1/4 inch. Okay. Another question, do you strip the wires? And I think you don't. You just drive the screw in, and that makes a contact, right?
No stripping. And if you want to undo it, you just take the screw out.
Pull the wires out.
Well, the wire's up. You're ready to go again. The
Okay.
wires, let's see, get there. They do get kind of chewed up after a while, but just nip off the end and start again.
Start again. All right. Very good. Somebody's asking, would you share your wire color map? So I'm guessing they're getting at for your application on your layout, you must have some sort of color coding for various bus wires or whatever. That's what they're looking for.
That was actually a workshop sample. I tried to go with white wires for the outside rails and colored wires for the center rail.
Okay, because again, you're doing 3-rail, right?
Yes.
Okay, makes sense. Somebody's want to know, would this technique also work if you're using wood framing?
It probably would. I'd be worried about the wood framing gathering more moisture, and you'd
All right.
be phantom short, or
Right.
minor short even.
Okay, yeah, that. And well, I suppose too. Have you ever had any problems with shorts and overheating and things like that, or no?
No overheating. Some people have expressed concern. You could touch a screwdriver over the top of two of the heads.
Right.
I've thought about making a deeper groove just for the heads, but it really hasn't been a problem. I mean, it's safer than some wiring I've seen under layouts.
And I suppose if you're worried about the head, you could always hit it with a bit of tape or something like that. Just put on to
tape,
protect the head, or
maybe,
rubber cement or something like that.
Right, silicone.
Yeah, silicone. Okay. So let me
I've
check.
seen live 110 volts under some layouts.
Yeah. Okay, a couple questions. What is your buzz box? Which somebody says a continuity tester, and then the question is, how is it made?
Okay, well, let's see. There's the top of the 9-volt battery. There's the bottom of it, and there's this little black thing that's the buzzer. I bought those all electronics, like for 75 cents each.
Right.
And then a little alligator jumper cable. And they're just all connected in series, and you touch
so you've got one lead to each of the terminals on the 9-volt battery, and once you're shorted out, the circuit's complete, and
right
buzzes your name. All right, so
Yeah.
fairly simple. Do you have that anywhere, website or page, something you could share or no?
I could. Now there's a website, instructables.com,
Right.
and it's got a website for the terminals.
Okay. So that will keep people there. All right. Let me double check here. That looks like the end of our questions. I'm seeing Gordy has disappeared on us again. So just bear with me for a minute, Carl.
Sure.
I'm gonna ask you another question. Since you're into operating, you do carry out operation sessions on your layout, I assume.
Right.
And so how big is your layout? It's O-scale 3-rail. We mentioned that.
O-scale 3-rail. It's it's a room 24-foot square. It's a dog bone, goes around the room 3 times before it repeats. About 600 feet of main line, 1,000 feet of track overall. We have a never-ending schedule with, I think it's 14 or 16 trains. We use 8 cornered waybills.
8 cornered waybills.
The typical is 4.
Typical is 4. I've heard of 4, but I never heard of 8.
Yeah, so after 8, you forgot where you started, so we never changed the waybills from the cars.
Okay, yeah.
There's plenty of variety. We also use books for each train. So each page in the book represents a different stop for the train. So, you get to the first stop, you take out all the cars that are in that page. The pages have folder or pockets. You take
Okay,
all
so you're carrying your car cards around in like a
like a
baseball
wallet.
baseball card album or something like that. Okay,
Yeah, they're the typical 3 by 5 inch size.
right. Okay,
And you switch the card when you get the car to the business, then you turn the waybill to the next stop. And we run short trains, typically 6 cars, but
right.
you always pick up the same number of cars you dropped off. So
Okay,
everything.
so your train length's always the same, but you're just shuffling, picking up and dropping.
Uh-huh.
So how many trains, or how long would your session be, and how many trains would you run in a session?
Well, before the coronavirus hit, we met every Monday for 3 hours.
Okay,
And since it's a never-ending schedule, when lunchtime came, we just, hung everything up and went to lunch.
went to lunch and then picked up again after lunch type thing.
Right. And
Right.
typically 5 to 6 guys.
Okay.
They keep most of them busy, probably be one sitting out at a time.
And what are you using? Some sort of just Mother May I, or do you have a dispatcher, or how are you doing that?
Right. I usually function as a dispatcher. And what I do is when people show up, I write their names down on the roster. And then often I'll change operators every time a train goes to a new town. So,
Okay.
you're never sitting out. It's like, I didn't get a train. I won't be operating until 11 o'clock. I didn't get a train, but he'll have something for me in 10 minutes here.
All right. Well, it's a good way of doing it, because I have been to layouts where you sit around and maybe get to run to one train, and then you're sitting around again, and hopefully you might run another one. So
yeah, we're real busy. That it might take 5 minutes to run from the yard to the town that you're going to.
right.
And then you're there for 15 or 20 minutes. Like Ruth Mountain's the toughest to switch because it goes up the mountain and has a switchback. And
All right. That sounds like fun.
yeah.
Yeah. And
And then
you said you're using all Katy couplers, so that's a reliable way to go there.
right. When in O gauge, the new 700 series, the knuckle spring is internal.
Oh,
You
really?
can't move it. Yes.
Nice.
When I saw them at the convention last year, I said, "When are you going to do that for HO?" And they said, "Oh, it's too small for HO. We can't do it."
No, it's a good thing. And yeah, how many HO knuckle springs do I see fling away across into the
Oh,
never to
yes.
be found again?
Yeah. Don't have to use ballast. It's just all springs.
All springs. That's right. Right. Okay. Well, very good. Let me just take another quick look and see if anybody's come up with a late question. Screw size. What size screws are you using?
I think they're number 8. Number 8 by 1/2 inch.
Okay.
And they're those little hex head that air conditioner people use.
Yeah, self-tapping screw.
I got onto these when I was putting in my turnout motors because they're so easy to hold on to up underneath the layout.
All right.
And in fact, I even got a 10-inch nut driver so you could really reach up through the framework and get in there.
Perfect. Okay. Well, Carl, thank you very much. We appreciate it. It's a pretty interesting way of making connections. Inexpensive compared to buying the commercial stuff, and it seems to work quite well. So thank you for doing a clinic for us for
Okay, everybody out there.
Gateway X. We appreciate it.
All right, take care. Bye now.
Bye.